I was a tennis player and went to university in the States, played tennis there. Basically graduated, played for a year and realised I wasn't good enough to make a living. So looked for something career-wise where I hadn't wasted all the years I spent playing tennis. And the Octagon, or it was then Advantage, was just starting out, and it was primarily focused on tennis management. So I applied and was the second employee in the UK to join the company. And I was fortunate when I started at Octagon. The first two clients I worked with was Joe Jury and Annabelle Croft, who were both really nice and marketable, to be honest. So got a good start in life in the sense that there's nothing more frustrating than trying to sell people that no one wants to buy. And so learned, early days with those, and grew from there and basically branched out into other sports where we've focused, and we still do really, on less athletes, but ideally the leading ones or the biggest personalities in the sport. Do you know, it's an interesting industry because it's fairly flat, to be honest, because you're really only as good as the clients you represent. So, you can have a big title and you can have seniority, but if you're not working or signing or representing athletes and personalities that generate revenue, that are successful, then it doesn't really matter what your title is. But so it has evolved over the years. I'm responsible for the UK office on the athletes and personalities side, and have a responsibility into Europe. But essentially, it's still very similar. It's still the people we represent that matters in terms of our status. I think it has affected strategy, but it's interesting because still the best athletes and the ones who are most marketable get it, and so they get it in the same way that they understood maybe historically, where it was more the traditional media was vital, and they understood that, and they're the same people who took that side seriously are taking the social media side seriously. I mean, some people use it recreationally, they just love it, but if they use it as a marketing tool, it's certainly it's just another tool for the guys who are smart about their career. But I think it is great. They do have a direct link with their fans, and it's probably where it's really good is where they are trying to show another side of their personality, and if they've got real interests, that creates a different following that would not necessarily normally follow them. So yeah, I think it's very positive. I think it's a very difficult industry to get into, and then once you're in, it's really easy to move around because there's not that many. It's not really a big industry. So I think in terms of advice for people trying to get in, it's just get in anyhow you can, and then do a good job and move around. Scarily, the standards in the industry aren't that high, the average standard, and it's partly because it's very difficult to measure somebody if they're good or bad or indifferent. And it's easy to look good because of the projects you've worked on or the events you've worked on. Very hard to actually tell what that person has done. I mean, obviously over time it becomes clearer. But the key is, definitely get in, and then there's a lot of opportunity once you're in. I'd say 99% is relationships and the ability to communicate. How they are with people. Are they good to talk to? Can they communicate? And then the knowledge, they can learn the knowledge, but people can never learn that art of communication, especially when obviously our product is people. We're dealing with people, and you've got to be able to relate to them, to their coaches, to their managers, to the people around them, and that's absolutely critical. I would say do the easy things well, because most of what we do is really easy, and it's just making sure you do it right. And so we always say, we're talking about being a flat company level. If one of our clients, so I've been here 30 years, if one of our clients needs a pair of tennis shoes or a pair of football boots, and they need them now, I'm just as likely to take them up there as someone who's just started the first day, because we know that's their equipment. To them, that's vital, and so do that well. Don't be late. They need the boots before they go on the pitch. They need the shoes, before they play the tennis match. Get there on time, get them there, boom, and that means a lot to them, as much as doing a big deal, And it's, I think that's definitely, we're in an industry where you do a lot of things, but you've got to do them well, and most of them aren't rocket science, and so it's just a culmination of being a good manager or a good agent. It's a culmination of doing lots of things well, not necessarily difficult things. I think it's leading by example, and also you can't help but build up stories and traditions. So that obviously the things that you go through help. I mean, one of our big sales pitch as a company is that we're not going to practice on your career. We're not going to be learning as we go along, and to say that and to mean that means that people within the company have got to have done that. You've got to have won Wimbledon, you've got to have won, been through the Sports Personality of the Year, England captain, success, failure. And so that's, I think, what gives you the credibility to be a leader. But then it's how you input that message. And probably the single biggest thing is it's definitely a we culture. So I think Octagon is different to a lot of agencies in the sense that our senior managers aren't necessarily superstars in their own right. Well, they're not. It's our clients who are the stars, and so we're probably the least well-known senior agents in the industry, because what we do is make sure our clients come first, and we maybe a slightly lower profile, and I think that's really important. I'll tell you, I'm really lucky. I mean, I've been here 30 years. I worked for the same guy for 30 years. So it's a guy called Phil DiPicciato, who, as I mentioned, is not necessarily a name that everyone knows in the sports industry, but he's the president now of Octagon and was one of the founders. And it keeps things simple. A very bright guy, and has shown is a great leader, and also very good with clients, very unassuming, and someone that you trust immediately.